Hola, ni hao ma, mahaba, shalom, bonjour, hello. Why is it we learn foreign languages? Well, chances are we know at least one person that we can converse with. And that was definitely the case for me, as I was born in El Salvador and I was raised in Los Angeles. So in LA, we can find at least one person we can speak a language with. And my parents understood in order to become fluent in a language, we had to practice it daily. And that was the case for us. But I'm here to talk to you about the foreign language of financial literacy. Thinking literacy, doesn't that mean to read? Yes. And chances are, if you're literate in a language, you're most likely not fluent in it as well. More than half of Americans feel they don't know what financial literacy is, or they don't even incorporate it into their conversation. And that was definitely the case for me. I actually grew up in a poor neighborhood, but I had a happy childhood, up until the age 10, where everything changed, not just for me and my family, but the communities surrounding us. When the LA riots hit Los Angeles, it hit us in the worst way. We were living in a community where people were already struggling to get by. And I remember I could no longer play outside. I remember my parents put bars on our windows because they were afraid things would be stolen. And blocks from where we lived, I remember seeing grocery stores, restaurants, mom and pop shops that not only looted, some of them were burnt to the ground. Seeing this as a kid had a major impact on who I was and trying to figure out what was going on. It was a very scary time. But the worst part is, I didn't know how I could help. So the best thing I could do was volunteer. So I did at a local pantry in our neighborhood. And I remember this day so clearly. I was so excited because I recognized someone that was coming towards us. I was like, oh yes, I can help you. I'll bring you your groceries. But this person, his face had not the same interaction I was feeling at that moment. Kind of gave me a wave, little smirk, and his head was slightly tilted down. As I remembered, he had just lost his job, and obviously he didn't have financial plannings, he didn't have emergency funds, and he was there to get groceries for his family. And he wasn't the only person I saw. So it was definitely something that shifted my awareness of, I need to learn about money, I need to know how I can help my community. And the best thing I could think of is, I need to go to college. So I did. I decided to study, got 2 majors in business, one in finance and one in international business. But unfortunate for me, I wasn't really taught what financial literacy was. And unfortunate for me, I learned it in the worst way. So going into my second year of grad school, I had just taken out another $15,000 of student debt, another loan, which on top of the debt I already had, on top of the credit card debt because I was heavily targeted while I was in college, on top of a mortgage that was responsible by myself because I was a first-time home buyer, on top of we were going into our 4th year of the nonprofit I had founded, and we'd helped over 1,000 girls, and all of a sudden I had this heavy responsibility that I wouldn't be able to afford to keep this going. And then I lost my job because this was 2 years after the market crash. My world started to change drastically. And you think that was the worst part, but it wasn't. I suddenly found myself, depression was an understatement. Not only was I crying all the time, I had many sleepless nights. I found myself in an acute psychiatric hospital, a mental hospital. After being there for 30 hours, I wondered, how did this happen to me? Oh my gosh, what is my family thinking? I felt so hopeless. I felt so ashamed. I felt alone. I felt like I was drowning in debt and there was no way out of it. And I thought, I should know better. Lucky for me, I was out in 36 hours and I had a moment of clarity. There was a whiteboard and gave me 5 steps to let me know I was going to be okay, which I'm going to share with you shortly. But now let's go back to financial literacy as a foreign language. Why I say it's a foreign language, it's because we have to practice it daily. Over 70% of college graduates will tell you they don't know what financial literacy is, they don't feel equipped to manage their money, let alone deal with their student debt. Over 40% of married couples fight about money. And the national average shows that most households will hold about $30,000 in debt. So we're definitely a country that's not talking about financial literacy, let alone how to manage it. The 5 steps that helped me was the very first one that will definitely help you. 1 is become aware that you're not alone. I gave you the statistics for a reason. We're not alone. We need to start having this conversation. As a child, it's easier to learn a language as opposed to when we're older. And so we start having that conversation daily. And when we become aware, it's okay, I'm going to mess up. And if you do mess up, you can turn to people. Number 2, you need to take action now, no matter where you are financially. And what that means is start taking action by maybe taking 20 minutes out of your day to learn something about financial literacy. Because financial literacy, like I said, as a language, it's an evolving language. There's acronyms, there's formulas, there's math involved. So take the time to learn maybe 1 or 2 at a time, 20 minutes of your day. For example, FICO score. We've heard this many times. What does it mean? What does it stand for? You know, it stands for the Fair Isaac Corporation. What does it mean to you as an individual? Well, chances are, if you have excellent credit, you're most likely going to get the job because they will run your credit. You're most likely going to get that apartment because they will run your credit. If you have excellent credit, most likely you'll get a better interest rate on your home loan. That's exactly what I tell my students. Just think about it. If you're an A student and you're an F student, is there a difference? Definitely. So taking the time to understand and tweak it 20 minutes out of your day. Number 3, incorporate new resources. I love that right now everybody seems to be singing that hook by Cardi B. I know you know it if you hear me say it. I don't dance now, I make money moves, right? It puts us in this mood and you're like, huh, she's talking about financial decisions. She's talking about money moves, right? So guess what? If we start incorporating music, something that makes us happy, think about it. When you learned the alphabet, you sang it because it was easier to remember. A, B, C, A, B, C. So if we start incorporating music that talks about money, the situations, the difficulties, the mistakes you might make, how to avoid those, can make it easier. Incorporating these new resources can be shows, podcasts, documentaries, movies, and just doing this daily can transform everything. Before I get to step 4, I want all of you to close your eyes. And I want you to remember the first time you saw your parents paying their bills, or whoever was in charge of your bills. What did their faces look like? What expressions did they have on their face? You can open up your eyes. This is what I saw. Guess what? That's a sense of frustration and anxiety. And unfortunately for most of us, that's the first interaction we have with dealing with money. So we need to understand that we can't do this alone. So we need to get some support, which is number 4. Get support. You can talk to a CPA, get a financial planner, get a financial coach, attend workshops, attend conferences. There's even anonymous workshops you can attend. Getting the support will not only keep you accountable and reach your goals, but it'll remind you you're not alone and that you're going to make mistakes. And that's okay too. Because as a kid, we're told, it's all right, you didn't say that right, or you didn't really use it right. You'll learn eventually. And just think about it. When you learned the alphabet, did we learn it all in one day? No. It was, you learn one letter, then you learn what it means, you somehow implement it every day and practice it, you make some mistakes, and you repeat the process. So knowing that you're going to not, once again, have someone with you and walk you through the process could feel less scary, and yet we'll learn something new. The last one, 5, is probably the hardest one for most, is be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Like I said, as we're adults learning this new language, can be very frustrating. And just taking those steps can get rid of the guilt, some of it, some of the feeling of shame. Having that conversation with not only your kids, but in our schools, as young as 5 years old and younger, to college, so we can prepare ourselves for a better future. As I stand in here in this auditorium, giving a TEDx talk, I have to tell you, I just recently lost my grandmother, and I'm proud to say that I am her wildest dream come true. And I would have never thought that sitting back in that hospital. You watching, you are your ancestors' wildest dreams come true. No matter if you're facing financial hardship, if you're feeling overwhelmed or depressed, together we are limitless. Together we can not only change ourselves, our communities, we can really change the system. As my hopes is one day financial literacy will no longer be a foreign language. It will be a universal language. Thank you.